back to the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Jason Scheer covers Arizona for Wildcat Authority. That's the 24/7 sports site that covers Arizona. Jason, thanks for a few minutes of your time this afternoon. So you wrote a notebook where you talked about Arizona's defense being ready for a major test against this Mississippi State offense. I'm curious if you think the bigger test for Arizona is the defense dealing with State's offense or Arizona's offense dealing with Mississippi State's defense.
You know, they're pretty similar. I think the big test is Arizona's defense. I mean, this is a defense that was literally one of the worst in the country last season. I know in the meeting last year it was actually the offense that hurt Arizona quite a bit, but to be able to go on the road against SEC athletes and the athletes that Mississippi State has, it feels like the bigger challenge is the defense. This is a defense that was completely rebuilt from last season. The opening game of the season was Northern Arizona, which isn't a real test, and so we're going to find out a lot more about this defense and how Arizona rebuilt it against the Mississippi State team that's going to challenge it in quite a few ways.
So in terms of differences from a year ago, is it primarily personnel or is it also scheme?
It's personnel. I mean, the whole defensive line is different. It's made up of transfers except for one player. One of the two linebackers is a transfer, and the second linebacker that returned wasn't even playing in the Mississippi State game. The secondary is new. The depth is new. I mean, it is just a complete personnel overhaul. The scheme is very different. It's still mostly going to be zone with a little bit of man, but I do believe that the defense is able to do some things that it wasn't able to do at times last year because of the personnel differences.
Jason, a season ago, I thought that Jaden Delore did a great job of escaping pressure at times in this game, but was sort of loath to go down the field and run. He tried to force balls into coverage, and that's why he ended up throwing 3 interceptions. Is he more likely this year to take off and run when he gets outside of the pocket? Because Mississippi State has had times has had trouble with quarterbacks in their mobility.
Yeah, I mean that's actually still talked about because if you go back and watch that game, there were clear running lanes for Jaden Delore, and he just wouldn't take them. He just wanted to sit there and throw the ball, which is fine, but that led to a few very costly mistakes. And since then, they've really worked at saying, look, even if you run for 3 or 4 yards, it's still better than throwing an interception. And in the season opener, they actually ran a read option play where he kept it, and he ran for a 53-yard touchdown. And, I don't think I wouldn't classify him as a running quarterback. I think he's sneaky and he's able to kind of get away from pressure, but he's never going to be a guy that runs, 15 times for 100 yards. The key is making the right play, whether that's throwing it out of bounds, whether that's, taking the 3 yards on the ground and moving on with it. That's been the big emphasis for Delore is, living to play another day. And I think that Mississippi State game last year was the biggest example of him not recognizing, hey, I could take this play and I'll have another, as opposed to trying to kind of make every play, everything happen on one play and turning the ball over.
Visiting with Jason Scheer from the Arizona 24/7 site, Wildcat Authority, talking about Mississippi State and Arizona coming up on Saturday night in Starkville. Clearly, there's a process here for Jed Fish, right? I mean, 1-11 in 2021. They improved to 5-7 a year ago. But within that 5-7, I thought Arizona, Jason, looked different in the second half of the year. I know they only won 2 of the final 6, or 2 of the final 3, if you want to break it down that way. But I thought they were competitive against UW. I thought they were competitive against Southern Cal. Maybe not so much against Utah. And then they get the win on the road against UCLA. They win the Territorial Cup against Arizona State at the end of the year. What was different with Arizona in the second half of the season than the first half of the year last year?
Yeah, I think it came down to it's hard to say, but it did feel like something clicked, like towards the end of the year, and it was a certain confidence, and it always felt like Arizona needed a win for it to kind of realize, hey, like you can do this. And UCLA was a big moment for the program. Going to UCLA and winning that football game and playing really well in that game was a big moment because Jedd Fisch needed that type of performance to say, like, hey, what I'm telling you is right. It's just eventually it has to kind of show up on the field. And guys started clicking, and the defense played pretty well. I mean, it was really, really bad for most of the season, but it actually played better in those last three games. And, you know, when you look at it, like, the offense, for the most part, played well almost every game. And there were games, you know, the Cal game sticks out where Arizona scored 40-something points and still lost to Cal because it just could not stop the offense of Cal, which wasn't even a good offense. And so, you know, as long as the defense put an average performance up, Arizona was always going to have a chance to win. And against UCLA, the defense played well. Arizona won that game. And then ASU, same deal. The defense forced turnovers and played well. When the defense, it'll be the same thing this season. When the defense puts forth an average game, Arizona's going to probably have a chance to win.
So, Jason, I feel like for a long time, and I know this is going back maybe a decade or more, part of the identity of Arizona football was defense. And you heard bear down, and I know it's a larger slogan, but I felt like it was kind of specifically applied to the defense. Do Arizona fans does that defensive identity mean a lot? Or has college football changed so much that, like, we don't care whether it's defense or offense, just go win games?
Yeah, I still think there's a part of Arizona fans that want this to be, I don't want to say a dominant defense. I mean, look, when Dick Tomey was here years ago, it was all defense. I mean, offense was almost irrelevant. We're going to beat you running the ball and with defense, and if we punt it, so be it. We'll just get the ball back. And college football has changed so much since then that I think, you know, unless you're Georgia, but even Georgia has a great offense. I mean, it's very hard to have dominant defenses in college football. I think people want to see, you know, it doesn't really matter. I just think people are tired of losing games because of defense. And so, I mean, even if, like, I know on the message boards the talk is, let's just try to have an average defense this year. And it's realistic. I mean, I don't think anyone wants or expects, I know they want, but I don't think they expect Arizona to be a dominant defense. It's just that let's not lose games because Arizona's so bad defensively. And, you know, if Arizona became a really good defensive team and the offense kind of faltered a little bit, I don't think people would be super upset about it. It's just a matter of what's going to win you football games.
You know, Jason, thank goodness we've gotten to actual games, and the conference realignment conversation has quieted down. But Arizona was very much a part of that story. Moving to the Big 12 next year, it's different, right? I mean, Arizona very much an integral part of the Pac-12 for a really long time, especially in basketball, but in football too. What does it feel like for Arizona fans, for your message board subscribers? Are people excited, just glad to have a home and not be wandering? What's kind of the overall emotion?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are excited because it's new, you know, and it's exciting, especially with basketball. And this town's a big basketball town. Going to the Big 12 for basketball is going to be crazy for Arizona fans. But, you know, for football, it's something, it's new and it's weird. I mean, this season is absolutely strange. You know, I have friends saying like they're going to go to the USC game, mostly because who knows when Arizona's going to play at USC again after this. Yeah. And, you know, they're going to Washington State, and who knows when those teams are going to play again after that. So it has a weird kind of a last hurrah type of feel. You know, once conference play starts, it's, you know, we just don't know. Like, we don't know when these teams are going to play again. And they've played so many times over the years, and there's so many great rivalries and great memories, and, you know, it's time to start new ones. But I think that this season overall just kind of has a strange feel to it.
Yeah, nothing says college football excitement like a road trip to UCF for Arizona, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, you know, it's there's so many, like, you know, Jedd Fisch, for instance, and he said he's only been to Starkville once. And I'm assuming that once Big 12 play starts, there's going to be a lot of towns that he has never been to. I think he said the only one he's been to was UCF. And so it's different. Like, it's just planning, you know, if you're a fan, it's very easy to get in the car and go to California from here and go catch UCLA and USC. It's much harder on a Big 12 road trip to just get in the car and go see a team play. So it's probably going to take some time to adjust to, but that's just the new reality that we're in.
I mean, never mind getting to Orlando. It's hard to get to Lubbock. So we'll see how this plays out in the future. Jason, really appreciate your time and some insight on the Arizona program, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.